Hey everybody, and welcome back to the BpFit Podcast. I just wanted to hop on here really quickly and preface this episode as we had some unforeseen technical difficulties that are not very ideal, some audio issues, transition, and some camera settings. This was actually our second time filming the episode as well. But here at BpFit, we soldier on no matter the challenge. And so that is why we are still super excited to share this episode with you all, as it has some very valuable and interesting health information. So, as with starting anything new, there is always a learning curve and some kinks that we are ironing out. We appreciate you guys joining us on this journey. And if you like this episode, be sure to like or comment below and hit that share button. Now let's get to the podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the BpFit Podcast, where we all have a bigger picture and where we believe that being a part of a community that is rooted in wellness can help you find your highest potential, whether that be fitness, career, or your biggest, wildest dreams. So today we have one of our very own, Victoria, on. And the topic of today is hormones, specifically female hormones. And we actually did this before. Yeah. And this is a retake. The camera did us dirty, and
pretty rude, actually.
We lost everything. So I loved the last one we filmed. Mm-hmm. In my heart, like after we filmed it, I was like, oh, I just bumped the mic. I was like, oh, like I can't wait for everybody to hear this. Like, and I know that you were super excited as well.
I was on cloud nine. I was so excited.
We were so excited, and then that happened.
Yeah, so, I got the worst text later.
I know. I was like keeping it from her. I was like, I don't want to like stop your joy that's coming in. Yeah. So I waited to tell you. But alas, we have another try.
That's all right. You know,
round two. Yeah. And so since the last one, some things have changed, specifically with your female hormones.
Yeah.
And so what is that?
Last time, you know, you'll hear it later. We're going to talk a lot about specifically your menstrual cycle and break it down and break down your training cycle with it. And so we talked about like birth control and like our personal cycles.
Yeah.
My personal cycle has changed about 12 weeks ago, where actually 12 weeks yesterday specifically, awesome. Okay. Where I am now pregnant. So we are expecting a little BpFit baby come February 29th.
Yay!
Give or take, if they are on time or late or early.
Yes.
So there we go.
There you go. And that's one example of using your cycle and having it work out for you what you're going for.
Yeah, and so that's what we talked about last time a lot, was cycle tracking and how I used cycle tracking for trying to conceive.
Yeah. Whereas I'm using it to try and not conceive.
Well, yeah. And so, you know, you have both ways.
Yeah.
So it worked for us. Actually doing like the rhythm method, I guess is what they call it. Cool. So it worked out.
Nice.
And now we have a little baby on the way. We'll find the gender out this coming week. So
okay, if I may, how long were you guys trying for before?
A year and a half.
A year and a half. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's like cool to hear. Like that's good to hear. Like that it's like normal. That like some people it's like that. Some people it's a year. Some people it's longer than a year.
Yeah. For example, my sister was the first month that they tried, and it was the first month off birth control, and you know, it happened for them, and some. You know, I don't know if it was just timing, and we'll speak more about the ovulatory phase, but you know, that is the window that you do want to, you know, do the baby dance.
Yes.
Per se. So I don't know if our window, we just kept missing like that glorious time of the actual egg release.
Yeah.
You know, so you never know. Mm-hmm. But we got all test results back and we're both fine. Great. So it was just one of those things that you don't get to decide, and
something magic got sprinkled.
Yes. A little spirit baby decided to come in.
Anyways, okay. So this is how I started off the last one. Was there any catalyst specifically to you to like getting into hormone research, and then specifically including it in your own routine and fitness routine?
So there was a catalyst. I was actually super young whenever I started learning about my own hormones.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that if females that get periods, you need to know your cycle. You cannot go through life ignorant without knowing it.
No.
So it wasn't exactly when I got my very first cycle. That was like 7th grade. It was a few years later when, just like everyone else's parents, they hear that you're a little older in high school and they're like, you're going to go on birth control.
Words on the street
that you have a boyfriend. And so you get birth control now.
Yeah.
Here, happy birthday. I tried it for a week, maybe.
Yeah.
And it was awful.
Oh.
I remember.
I forget this, yeah.
Because I was driving at this time. And so I remember just driving down the road and just bawling my eyes out for no reason.
Oh, you felt it like randomly.
Yeah,
already.
like everything hurt. Like my chest hurt, like stomach hurt. And my menstrual cycle was not like that. I had no real issues with my menstrual cycle minus some back pain, irritability.
Yeah.
But I never had any extreme issues.
Right.
So I was like, I'm now getting extreme issues.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop and I'm going to look into what else I can do. So it was probably about 16 that I was like, I just kind of started lying to my mom about the pills and like I wasn't taking them and started doing my own research.
That's amazing, though, at that age to have that much awareness around that.
Yeah. It was just such a surprise to me because I'm not normally an emotional person.
Yeah.
And, like, I was a tomboy softball player, and I was like, why am I crying? I don't cry. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so it was from then. And then to the second part of that, when I actually started using it in training was honestly pretty recently.
Yeah.
So cycle tracking and cycle syncing is what it's called whenever it's used with training, has just been a very popular topic. I feel like more trainers have talked about it.
Yep.
So it honestly was pretty recent that I started noticing like, I am hitting PRs on certain spots in the month, and I do want to naturally go for runs on other spots.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to start looking at this for my personal cycle, because I also am a big believer your cycle and how you train is going to be different from mine.
Totally.
I might want to lift heavy during my period. You might want to do more yoga.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yep.
So it was actually probably so that's basically the end of your cycle.
Yes.
And then
your body has released an egg that now thinks it's maybe going to get pregnant or that you are pregnant.
Yes.
And then it's waiting to see what happens, and then nothing happens, and you have your period.
Because
or something happened, and you
and then all of a sudden, when you should get your period, you don't. Yeah, which is really interesting for me, at least for tangent. The biggest part that I was like, oh, maybe something happened this time.
Yeah,
I felt great.
You felt great.
Nothing was
you weren't
irritating me. Not yet. I was not tired yet.
Right.
I found out early because of all of my cycle tracking.
Yeah.
I found out just like that because whenever one day that my period doesn't hit, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, something's going on.
Yeah. And I actually found out through my ovulation strips anyway.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Nice.
But, through the luteal, your lining is thickening, and that's what actually sheds in your period because your body's menstrual cycle is, I don't want to say its sole purpose because it's not its sole purpose. It's also to create other hormones for the female body, but its sole purpose is reproduction.
Yes,
I mean, that's why you get it.
And it's building a womb that then doesn't get inhabited, and then it goes away.
And then back to the original, the beginning of the question that was, what was the catalyst? And for me, it was not doing birth control. Then come to find out that birth control could actually hinder your fertility. And whenever I learned that at 16, of course a 16-year-old doesn't want a child, but I always knew I was going to be a mother.
Same. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no judgment on people who want to use, women who want to use birth control, but we are not for it. Us two are not for it.
We're not, and I understand that there are reasons medically that you might be interested in it.
Right.
But I did not have any, PCOS or anything like that that would
make a doctor suggest it to weigh your options. But it can have long-term effects, not even talking about like fertility or conceiving, that's another thing, but just on like your other hormones. Like I believe they've actually done a study on the ones that make you like hungry.
Your thyroid
like your ghrelin and your leptin get kind of messed with. So then it's like there's permanent long-term effects of that, so you're always going to be slightly hungrier than you should be.
And when you're going
long-term, so once you stop the medication, this continues. I've never been on it. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, me too. And you also have to think about when making your decision on it. I guess we're going to jump into that question.
Yeah, I'll go down them,
but when making that decision, you have to make that decision only for yourself. And you have to look at all of the reasons for it. And the other reason is your body constantly thinks it's pregnant.
Yes.
So that's how birth control works.
Right.
I'm not a doctor. I'm going to over generalize this, and I'm probably not, and I might get a couple of things wrong, but basically through the research that I've done is your body, the entire time that you're on birth control, it's basically believing your body's pregnant. And so that's why you are actually never shedding your lining anymore. It's a synthetic period. It is not blood from the lining.
Right.
And I was never okay with that either. If it was going to stop all of that, I don't even know if it would go into like anovulation.
Right.
And so that just worried me way too much.
No, I hear you. Yeah, same.
Menstrual can be anywhere from 2 possibly, and then to 7. I'm a 7 girl. When I was getting my period.
I'm a 6. I'm a 6er.
You're a 6er? Nice. All right. So everyone's going to be different there. Another reminder to always track your personal cycle.
Yes.
And then you have follicular, and I think of follicular as the most immature egg is called a follicle. So
it's a little follicle.
That's my brain. That's how I remember
it. Makes sense.
And then it during those for me, I would always ovulate at about 15 or 16. So we could just say that's about. Follicular could be up to about 10 days, depending on your cycle again. So always track your cycle.
Yeah, so for example, mine's longer. I don't remember if the camera got this. Mine's longer, and so my menstrual ends at 6 days. My follicular is till about 25, 27.
Yeah, that is long. So I'm going to be very interested to...
Are my eggs just fucked?
No, I wouldn't say fucked. I would just say very mature.
But that's not good. You don't want
not exactly, but I would be interested in either they're taking longer to get to a nice maturity, or if they're over maturing. That's going to be very interesting to find out. Hopefully you don't have to find out about it, but
because it's been like that since day 1 of my period. It's always been like 35 days. So that's still considered normal, actually, because I've obviously researched it.
Which
is as long as it's regular and it's an X amount of days, it's
as long
not
as it's
bad.
been consistent, should be good.
So it's always been consistent, but 35 days. So apparently, maybe I'm just larger, so I get longer time.
Maybe exactly. Your personal cycle, which I am happy being a female, because being a female with this menstrual cycle, your body is always communicating with you. Always. I mean, if one thing goes wrong with my menstrual cycle, I'm like, oh my God.
Totally.
Doctor, I don't know what's going on. Do I need to start drinking tea? I don't know. Men, you need a microscope to figure out if everything's okay.
Totally.
I mean, other than doing some blood testing. Anywho, so back to your cycle.
Follicular.
Tangent. But phone difficulties now. Okay. Back to your cycle. So you have when the egg is released from folliculars, whenever it's the most mature egg, or mature for your body, or whatever. And then you go into ovulatory, and ovulatory is maybe 5 days. And so that's the time that you either want to abstain or protect, or baby dance, which is what I was doing.
3 options.
3 options. Hey, you want a baby, then, have some fun.
Yeah.
You don't want a baby, don't have fun.
Yeah.
And
don't have too much fun.
Yeah, and the male side is really only alive for 3 to 5 days anyway, which is kind of interesting with how humans were created, that men only get this thing that's survival rate is 5 days, and we only have a 5-day window of so it's kind of like that's
beautiful.
Very Adam and Eve or whatever you believe in.
Yes.
Wild.
It's
but
very...
So then after ovulatory, you have luteal, which luteal for me is normally the time whenever I start to taper down on energy, and it's pretty rapid. Sometimes even right whenever my egg is released, which again I knew since I was tracking. Honestly, like that day was down in the slumps, and so that's whenever it started for me. And then your follicular is basically anywhere from since you ovulate around day like 27, basically from 27 until your menstrual is your luteal phase.
Yeah, mine is normally 10 days, which I think is luteal. Average.
That's average is about 10 because that was mine, because I would be done about 24 and I'm a 32 dayer, 30 to 32.
Okay, so I'm not too much. I'm 35.
Oh yeah, so
35 to 37 sometimes, but yeah. So it's like ovulate 25, 27, and then 35, 37.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the luteals, whenever I am starting to really see, that's why the generalization of
women not being in a good mood.
Because I am not motivated to work out, which working out is my mental health. So that's basically the end of your cycle.
Yes. And then your body has released an egg that now thinks it's maybe going to get pregnant or that you are pregnant.
Yes.
And then it's waiting to see what happens, and then nothing happens, and you have your period.
Yeah, because the
or something happened,
and then all of a sudden, when you should get your period, you don't. Yeah, which is really interesting for me, at least for tangent. The biggest part that I was like, oh, maybe something happened this time. Yeah, I felt great.
You felt great.
Nothing was irritating me. Not yet.
Yeah.
I was not tired yet.
Right.
I found out early because of all of my cycle tracking.
Yeah.
I found out just like that because whenever one day that my period doesn't hit, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, something's going on.
Yeah. And I actually found out through my ovulation strips anyway.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
But, through the luteal, your lining is thickening, and that's what actually sheds in your period, because your body's menstrual cycle is I don't want to say its sole purpose, because it's not its sole purpose. It's also to create other hormones for the female body, but its sole purpose is reproduction.
Yes,
I mean, that's why you get it.
And it's building a womb that doesn't get inhabited, and then it goes away.
And then through back to the original, the beginning of the question, that was what was the catalyst? And for me, it was not doing birth control. Then come to find out that birth control could actually hinder your fertility. And whenever I learned that at 16, of course a 16-year-old doesn't want a child, but I always knew I was going to be a mother.
Same. Yeah.
So
no judgment on people who want to use birth control, but we are not for it.
Well,
us two are not for it.
We're not, and I understand that there are reasons medically that you might be interested in it. But I did not have any, PCOS or anything like that that would
make a doctor suggest it to weigh your options. But it can have long-term effects, not even talking about fertility or conceiving, that's another thing, but just on your other hormones. I believe they've actually done a study on the ones that make you hungry.
Your thyroid,
your ghrelin and your leptin get kind of messed with. So then it's there's permanent long-term effects of that, so you're always going to be slightly hungrier than you should be.
And when you're going
long-term, so once you stop the medication, this continues. I've never been on it. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, me too. And you also have to think about when making your decision on it. I guess we're going to jump into that question.
Yeah, I'll go down.
But when making that decision, you have to make that decision only for yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to look at all of the reasons for it. And the other reason is your body constantly thinks it's pregnant.
Yeah.
So that's how birth control works.
Right.
I'm not a doctor. I'm going to over generalize this, and I'm probably not, and I might get a couple of things wrong, but basically through the research that I've done is your body, the entire time that you're on birth control, it's basically believing your body's pregnant.
Yeah.
And so that's why you are actually never shedding your lining anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's a synthetic period. It is not blood from the lining.
Right.
And I was never okay with that either.
Yeah.
If it was going to stop all of that, I don't even know if it would go into like anovulation.
Right.
And so that just worried me way too much.
No, I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same.
Yep.
Last little bit about the cycles. There it goes again. See?
Yeah.
Before I said, Before I said, not to overgeneralize because I don't like speaking this way, but men sometimes don't realize that when you're in your luteal phase, your body actually thinks you have a baby maybe. So that's why we sometimes like for me, I don't notice too much emotional things. I'm sure maybe someone else would say I'll like otherwise, but I just get really tired. I do notice I get irritated more by certain things, but it's definitely not a monthly thing. It would maybe be a quarterly thing where I get like a really naughty one.
3 days before.
Okay.
Always.
Yeah. Yep. I just get real tired.
A cabinet can shut wrong and I'll want to destroy it.
See, I'm sure I have that. I'm sure I have that to a level. I just don't think it's directed at people. It's directed at myself.
Sorry, David.
I directed towards myself, I think. Maybe I directed towards someone, but in very like micro ways. Yeah. I don't think you're like, whoa, what's up with you? Like you're a completely different person, I hope. But yeah.
But yeah, no, as long as like a male responsibility with menstrual cycles, if you are dating women or have female clients, whether if you're not dating, whatever, if you have a female in your life,
or a mother or a sister,
you have females in your life and you're a male, you need to have some basic knowledge of the female menstrual cycle.
It's gonna help you too.
As a coach that also trains males, I need some basic knowledge of testosterone.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally.
I mean, I just don't see any other way around that.
Yeah. Yep. It's gonna really affect your
responsibility as a coach,
Yeah.
or a human with females and males in your life.
Yes. Yeah. So the other thing too to keep in mind is that we women have a how long your cycle is, hormone schedule, and men have a 24-hour one.
Yes.
So
we love testosterone.
They're the same. Yeah, right.
Like, please.
So stable.
It's so nice.
Unwavering.
We only get 0 to 60 of it though.
So men are the same person, literally, from day to day. We are not like biologically composed of the same chemicals day to day. It's changing.
Yeah. So we have the ever so great estrogen and the even better progesterone.
Totally. So that's something to keep in mind.
It's a little tiny bit of testosterone.
Yes. you want a healthy amount. Yeah. Not too much. So that is often described as men being the sun, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna get hippie now.
Yes.
So men being the sun, you rise and fall every day.
Yes.
The same, and women, are the moon.
Yes.
So that is how women used to track their cycle, was the moon.
So it's not hippie, it's actually the earth.
It is, and it's how women first realized that they had something similar to that there were phases. So I have always been someone who has a red cycle most of the time, where I bleed with the full moon. So that's supposed to be like reversed of what is normal. Like a new moon cycle or a white cycle is more normal. Red is a little different, but I have noticed, which is very interesting, at certain phases in my life, I will be on the white moon cycle, and that is times when there's a lot of change going on. I just went through a lot of change, and for the first time it went to where I was bleeding on the new moon, and now it's back to normal, and I'm bleeding with the full moon.
Yeah.
So that's also freaky.
It is. It really is. Yeah, because it's where the werewolves already come out, and now you're even, you know. I actually ended up noticing a couple times during my cycles that I was ovulating during the full moon.
Oh, so I think I forget how it goes with like first quarter, second quarter, new, half, full.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's more regular.
Yeah, because I remember
like
the last
time for introspection, and you're quieter, and you go within yourself.
Yes, and the last time that we recorded this, we discussed that one was more like fertility and one was more sexual.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
I don't think mine is very fertile.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
Because I'm not like, my ovulation isn't during that really like charged time, which would be the full moon.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, because I know some days your menstrual cycle can be 28 days and the next it'll be 29, so it's always kind of shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why you can change with the cycles of the moon, and that's why you can always evolve with it, which at the end of this month we're actually going to get a blue moon.
Yeah, we got 2 full moons.
Two super moons this month, and the last one is going to be August 30th.
Okay.
And it's the blue super moon. Yeah, that's why they say once in a blue moon, because it's not going to happen until like 2040 or something.
Amazing.
That's
what when was the last one? What is the time period?
I wouldn't know.
Okay, yeah.
Look it up. Tell us.
Let us know. Drop it in the comments.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see this really quick. Use your face. Face, please. So, we did birth control pros and cons.
Yep.
Do we have more pros and more cons? I feel like last time we went over it a little bit more. We only talked about cons just now.
We did only
talk about cons. The pros are, speak with your healthcare professional about the
exactly. If your only pro is helping acne, go see a dermatologist.
Yeah. Or go get a gut test.
Yeah. Yes. Your pro shouldn't solely be for some other thing that has nothing to do with your menstrual cycle. We discussed PCOS. I'm not too educated on PCOS, unfortunately. I probably should be, but I know that is kind of another reason. Now, I do understand that there are multiple. We're mainly talking about the hormonal birth control. That's for me personally, a big no-no. Now, I know that the IUDs are non-hormonal, and it's mainly just kind of a blocker. I'm just still not okay with a foreign entity in my body.
Yeah, same.
For long periods of time.
Well, I don't know how my body. I'm scared.
Yep.
Scared of it coming out.
I never agreed with the bicep.
Well, that's hormone.
Yep, that's hormone. You're right.
Yeah.
So, just do your research. Don't just, I feel like a part of my issue was I was 16 and I was told that this is what we're going to do now.
Yeah.
It was by a general practitioner, not even a gynecologist. Mm-hmm. I believe that if you're not getting your blood hormone levels tested before being prescribed a birth control, I feel like that's a big no-no as well.
Totally.
You need to know those numbers before going into it with anything that you're about to start taking.
Yeah, and just to put into perspective for those who that say that all alternative methods are harder or more work, with something like I mentioned earlier, like natural cycles, well, yes, but you're reaping a lot more from that, right?
Yeah.
But also, it's not really, because if you have to remember to take a pill every day, that's one action that we're doing.
At the same time.
You can do taking your tip every day, that's still one action.
Right.
So you're doing the same amount of work.
Right.
So that's something to keep in mind.
I kind of want to be a little harsh here. If your complaint is you don't want to do more work, we need to do a little more kind of internal work around that.
Yeah. How do you feel about yourself that you can just be like,
having a menstrual cycle comes with an extreme level of responsibility, and being sexually active comes with an extreme level of responsibility that comes with a little more work, and you have to get over that.
Totally.
I mean, that's my take on it.
Yeah. Right.
Just put a little journal next to your bed. There are ways to make it easy and integrate it into your lifestyle. I used to do my workout log for my my workouts.
Right.
I would just put a little red mark, and then at the bottom in the notes portion, I would just write it in there because everything was all together.
Yeah.
It's your body.
Right.
So that was the easiest way for me if I needed to figure out how to cut corners.
Yeah.
But
it's great. All right. Let's go over, have you ever done any fasting, or what are some kind of fitness techniques that are normal or mainstream that you've had to be careful around because you are a woman with a cycle?
Yeah.
And what are some things you've used to help support your body in its natural cycle?
There has been a little more research coming out lately that female with our hormone structure, fasting is actually not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Although, with that being said, I do understand some people's schedules and lives, and I used to be like a early morning trainer, and so getting up at 4 and eating a full breakfast and going to the gym and possibly even having to do cardio when I was a competitor before that, and then starting with my 5 or 6 a.m. client. That is not optimal for a normal feeding structure.
Totally.
So I did actually do a period of fasting, intermittent fasting, a few years ago, probably 5 years ago. But that was just with my natural schedule.
Right.
So I would fast, obviously, from nighttime until about 1, and then I would have my first meal at 1.
Right.
And I always had to make sure that it wasn't, that it was high protein, and then a moderate amount of carbs. So looking at the specific compounds of what I was eating.
Yeah.
Because if it was too high in carbs, I would get very exhausted.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then I would need a nap. And then my whole day would be screwed up.
Yeah.
So I would fast from probably about 8 p.m. to about 1.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that's a long one.
But that's
a long one.
Just because of my schedule, I needed to go to bed early, so it got cut off early,
right?
And I needed to wake up early and work for 6 hours in a row.
Yeah, I did intermittent fasting for a while, really strong 6 years ago, where I was doing 18 hours a day, normal. And then just stopped it naturally. I still love it and lean more towards it. Not that long, but I lean more towards just not liking breakfast too early.
Mm-hmm.
My breakfast still is I have to force myself to eat before 11 sometimes, and I'm happy when I do. It's fine. But I like having my mornings not around that. I love breakfast food though, so don't get me wrong there.
Yeah.
And so for people who want to fast, because I'm a big fan of the benefits that do come with it, when again it's not extreme for women. There are points where it's too much to keep your cycle healthy.
Can't go 24 hours a days.
Right, regularly. Yep. So going back to the magical cycle, which we always come back to, is that there are times when you can fast during the month, and there are times where you want to just ease off on it. So that is generally, for most people, again, during that follicular phase or even menstrual, you can get away with fasting most of the time.
Yeah.
As soon as you're ovulating and have ovulated, you need food, and you need to cut the fasting out. Yeah.
I would agree with that as well.
Yeah. And then on top of that, I'm someone who I've had my hormones tested and everything, so my body needs a little bit more support for progesterone.
Yeah.
So there are certain foods that you can implement to help you hopefully crave less during that time too, because what your body's actually wanting is things that are going to help it build more progesterone. So that may be just energy, right? So energy from any type of macro or micronutrient, and that's why you have cravings. But I find that if you have some foods that help your body produce progesterone, it can kind of limit that.
Yep.
Those are things like tropical fruits, sweet potatoes, pumpkin seeds. You could look it up.
Yep.
It's high in progesterone. A lot of the orange foods, I think.
Yep.
The
And then
orange
it's
foods.
mainly proteins.
And proteins, of course.
Before menstrual.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And touching on PMS a little bit.
Yeah.
I know we talked about this last time too, is that you should not be having any extreme PMS symptoms. If you do, please get your hormones tested.
Yes.
Because it is not in nature, or I wanted to say God's plan, it's not in nature to have you be sick literally for something that happens naturally to you every month. That wouldn't be optimal in real life.
Yeah, laid up in a bed for those 5 to 7 days.
Or like going back to like when we're nomads, like you had to be ready to do XYZ.
Exactly.
Like it's not optimal when the woman's just out of commission. Like that's not how you're designed
Especially
to be.
when they were the house managers. And
they like led the home.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So, and that still happens today. Mothers leave the home and take care of it. So, that would be an indicator that you want to get your hormones tested for sure.
And extreme, we're talking cramps that are like
so bad that
you're crying, you're bent over in pain, you can't really sit up straight or do too much. I would get migraines a lot during my menstrual cycle, and so I actually ended up having to get that checked. Sodium levels were low and thyroid was low, so
there you go.
But it was a quick fix because I was able to look at it.
Which it most likely is for you too, if you have that stuff going on. It's just something's not being looked at. And also extreme emotional issues. That's another way, because that's your hormones controlling how you're reacting to things. So, if you have something extreme, I will say though that like if you have something coming up in your life every month around that time, that may be something to look at in your life actually, because intuition is very real. And so that could be your intuition telling you, your wise womanly intuition, that something's wrong and something needs to change and you're reacting to it. But if it's totally just uncalled for and random and you feel like a roller coaster, then that is probably not a good sign.
Like all of this is just mainly going back to the point of being way more conscious about
your body. Which everybody should
record it.
But your intuition is a little bit higher around after you've ovulated and things like that. And then another one is stress and also relationships and how we manage those as people who have cycles. So how does that impact you? What are your management techniques for stress?
My family would call me the white-knuckled person in the family. I am a stress bunny. I so much so where I'll stress so hard, get migraines. So cortisol was also a big issue there. But I would also get like 5 canker sores in my mouth at one time.
My sister-in-law was like that.
Yep, so really bad. Like not even because I was eating acidic foods, because trust me, I looked at that. I wasn't chewing on my gums. I have relatively straight teeth, so there's no friction, going on. I'm a big stress person. And with relationships, are you getting to the fact of like your relationship could kind of affect it more? And that you need to.
How do you manage?
Manage it within the relationship.
Right, if there's stress that, because then that's all going to come back at you and affect your cycle, or your cycle's affecting how you deal with those things.
You need to be honest, and for me, it was knowing that I needed personal space. So that either looked like a space in the house that was my sacred area, and that I would just kindly ask my partner that I am going to go to this space and I will come out soon.
Totally.
And that wasn't really around if there was friction. Now, if there was friction and around my menstrual cycle, and I knew that we were in a phase of my menstrual cycle that was going to be harder for me to control my emotions, then I needed to go to my sacred space. Which sometimes is my bedroom, or it's a walk with my dog, or it's something like that. And so that was my biggest thing. Or it was if I would get really irritated and realize I didn't go to the gym.
Totally.
And it's 5. The hell are you doing? So I'd be like, you know what? We're going to put a pin in this conversation if it's revolving a conversation, or if I'm just nitpicking for no reason. I'm just going to apologize, realize what I'm doing, and get my butt to the gym if I haven't been to the gym yet.
I call it a sacred timeout.
Which is okay.
You got to be able to give yourself time out.
And you need to have that open conversation. What is going on today?
Crazy. This is obviously how it's meant to be.
Right. With this,
to be
you need to be able to have that open conversation with your partner in a sense of like, we're safe, we're okay. Our relationship is safe and okay, because it could create stress for them, which isn't fair.
Yes.
So
that's
what I did.
Yeah, there needs to be room for both to express.
Emotions have been a little more rampant lately.
How has that been? What has you?
I have been more sensitive.
Okay.
So I haven't really been angry or irritable or short.
Yeah.
I've been way more sensitive.
That's what it is. You just jogged what happens to me in my luteal phase. That's what it is.
It's sensitivity.
I don't get angry. I just get like, I'll be like, oh, that hurt.
Yeah.
That hurt my feelings. Whereas normally I'd be like, I don't give a fuck.
Davis and I, you've probably heard it, we have like this witty banter about ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden right now I'm like, I
don't
can't do that anymore.
Did you mean that? Wait, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
I definitely get that.
Because he'll call me like tangent, whatever, into my relationship, but I've been a little more gremlin-like with snacks and things. And this recent time he commented about like my snacks and my gremlin hermit type thing, and I was like, like, am I eating too much?
Yeah.
Like, is this okay? Like, you can come over here. Like, are the pillows not like that I have all around me right now? Are they not okay? So that's been it for me.
Yeah. Okay.
So I actually haven't needed any space. Lately.
You probably need less space.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to be more involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. And then for you with your stress management, what do you do?
I have
and relationship as well.
Yeah. Similar, just expressing what's going on or why I'm feeling one certain way and saying this.
And then what do you do in your relationship to manage your stress management whenever you're stressed alone? Because running a freaking business is hard.
Right. Yeah.
Then
business
also
together,
relationship.
Right.
And stress.
Yeah. So for myself and then also relationship, I guess, is just quiet time. Just reconnecting. Mm-hmm. I don't live with the other person, so that's different, right? So I can have my own space when I need it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's normally, like, I'm not someone where my partner is stressed to me normally. I'm a very, what's the term for that? Very good at cohabitating.
Got it.
Cohabitating?
Not codependency.
Not codependency, but whereas like certain people may be like, I need like a complete alone time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily need that. I just have certain things that I do that bring me back to my baseline, whether that be playing volleyball, swimming in the ocean, or just some sort of nature, or doing something that I love. Like that's basically what it comes down to. Something that gets my mind off of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't necessarily, the other person doesn't stress me out. Like, you could be sitting over there and it's fine. I don't need to, like,
wonderful.
Be completely alone.
That's what I thought the conversation was going into, was more of a sense of, like, if your life is too stressed and you've noticed its relationship, then maybe.
Yeah, totally.
But that's good that you have that. That's really good.
Yeah.
Davis also doesn't stress me out.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I know. That's not what I'm saying.
No, I know, but just.
Yeah. But again, that's probably something I, should do more, is like solid alone time also, that like I miss having at this.
Just focusing on it more.
Yeah, and going back to like the things that I love doing too, which is what I've recently been doing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's always good. Because you're always going to come back to your better version of self.
Exactly.
And then you can only give in relationship when you're your better version of self.
When your cup is full.
Yes.
So it's in charge, you're in charge of filling your own cup, never your partner.
Exactly.
That's something that
it's two people coming together.
That a lot of people don't understand, I think, in relationships.
Yep. You're not happy in lieu of your partner.
Right.
You're happy.
Yes.
And then your partner adds to it.
It brings more happiness.
Yes.
Totally. Yep. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that stands out. Not really. Yeah.
I don't have anything else.
I think that's pretty much it for us. So to close it out, get your hormones tested.
Track your
start
cycle.
Tracking your cycle. Contact one of us if you want to learn more about it, or learn how you could rope it into your workouts.
I would love to offer a consultation with anyone that is even a male that wants to learn more.
Totally.
And then obviously any female that wants to come in, we can, if you bring in your menstrual cycle information, I would love to sit down with you and go through like suggestions on either programming or diet. I'm certified in nutrition, so I can help you with that. I would love to give a consultation to anyone with that.
Always.
Yeah.
And then what else? I think that's it. For hormone tests, I think it's really important that everybody do a urine one as well.
Yeah.
So that is the Dutch test. If you have a practitioner that'll do that with you, blood only tests the hormones that are present in your body at that moment.
You're right.
Urine gives you a 24-hour picture of what your hormones are looking like.
Yeah, and speaking of that,
for women, that's really important.
Your doctor is gonna probably require blood hormone testing at certain times in your cycle, so you're gonna need to know that information anyway.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
And thanks for sticking around with some of the
technical issues.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Bye. Great.